So 2 weeks ago, we began a series on the self-confidence formula, which is a series of statements that I have memorized and that I repeat daily. It's an idea taught by Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich. In this book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill shares what he learned from Andrew Carnegie, the richest man and the biggest philanthropist in America at that time. And also, after more than 20 years of study of many individuals who had amassed personal fortunes. Napoleon Hill also wrote The Law of Success in 16 Lessons, a 1,600-page book. And lesson 3 was on self-confidence, where he proposed his 5-step formula to develop self-confidence, which we all now call the self-confidence formula. Last week I discussed the first step, or the first paragraph in the self-confidence formula. Today let's learn about the second step, the second paragraph. I've typed out the second step in the introduction to this video. You need to refer to it because I'm going to be referring to it through this discussion. So the second step says, second, I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. It seems actually a very easy or natural thing to do when you look at real life examples. For example, a mother's regard to her child. From the day the child is born, the visualization of the mother that this child will be highly successful, will go to university, will become best that he could be, maybe president of the country. For example, a child, his dominating thought, when he wants a pet dog or a pet, or when he wants a Christmas present, how he's pestering and thinking about it and dreaming about it day and night. Very easy. Happens to you, happens to people all the time. To think is to create. Therefore, Napoleon Hill has this quote. He says, thoughts are things. Because if you think is to create, then your thoughts are things. Success is never an accident. It is a deliberate creation that happens first in our mind. I want to examine some key phrases in this second phrase of the self-confidence formula. The first is dominating thoughts. Now these are not just thoughts, but dominating thoughts. Napoleon Hill says everyone is what they are because of the dominating thoughts which they permit to occupy their mind. He also said, remember that your dominating thoughts attract through a definite law of nature by the shortest and most convenient route their physical counterpart. Be careful what your thoughts dwell upon. Yesterday during my morning walk with my dog Zuri, Sunday walk, I listened to Joel Osteen's message, Who Do You Say You Are? He said that life is full of voices that will try to define you, but you are not who people say you are. You are who God says you are. If you are going to reach your destiny, you have to go back to what God says about you. If you want a link to this sermon, just PM me, I'll send you the link. If I repeat something often enough, that's how it becomes a dominating thought. Okay. So you take our New Skin mission statement, which we recite, every time you check in or every time at the start of a small group meeting or at the start of MAM. You say it often enough. What are the key words that are your dominating thoughts? Force for good, isn't it? Improving people's lives, force for good, improving people's lives. Take our definite purpose statement. Those of you who are reciting your definite purpose statement, for me, I will be a successful platinum team elite leader. I will have a community of committed, courageous, and caring leaders. These are the dominating thoughts on my mind. Those of you who went to Tony Robbins, he talks about incantation. He talks about affirmations. Okay. So the key here is to have positive, empowering thoughts. Okay. And actually, this is not automatic. On the contrary. Okay. Why do I say that? See, when you use the when I use the adjective dominating, I visualize mountains, okay, that dominate the landscape. The dream is that dominating peak, the big, hairy, audacious goal. But in reality, I'm training at Bukit Timah Hill only 168 meters high, or even just starting at the foot of an HDB block. The gap between my current reality and what I want is so huge and far away. Suddenly, the thoughts that occupy my mind are doubts, disbelief, disempowering scenes of danger and defeat. And that's why 95% of people quit, because they allow these disempowering, limiting beliefs to occupy their thoughts. Okay, let's look at the phrase eventually reproduce. Okay. I like the word eventually because in step 1 we talked about persistent continuous action. Okay. And so eventually reproduce is as a result of persistent continuous action, the slight edge of the compound effect, guaranteed to happen. The other phrase is outward physical action. Okay, outward physical action. So Dr. Joe Dispenza, he talks about how to be defined, how he wants we should be defined by a vision of the future, not by memories of the past, bad memories of the past. He says a person has 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts in one day. 90% are the same thoughts as the day before. So we need to be careful about what we're thinking about, because your thoughts always lead to your choices. Your choices always lead to your behaviors or actions. Okay. Thoughts, choices, behaviors, or actions. Let's look at the phrase physical reality. Okay. So Joe Dispenza says your behaviors then will create your experiences. Okay. What your actions will create your experiences, and your experiences produce your emotions. So your behaviors will create experiences and emotions, and these very same emotions drive the very same thoughts, and then you come back to, because of those thoughts, you make choices. So your thoughts lead to experiences and emotions, which are your reality. This is creation. Why Napoleon Hill says thoughts are things, because when you think, eventually it leads to what is created. And this is how healing occurs actually, when you focus on the positive outcome, not on the present pain. Okay? Very important, focusing on the finished product. Then he says just 30 minutes daily. Just 30 minutes daily. Imagine just 30 minutes daily to activate the subconscious and the universe, God, to work 24 hours a day. That's a good investment of time, isn't it? But it's focused, proper dominating thoughts. Then the phrase, thinking of the person I intend to become. Okay, that is habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. Okay, this is your blueprint. Napoleon Hill said, cherish your visions and your dreams, as they are the children of your soul, the blueprints of your ultimate achievements. Last week I asked you to memorize the first paragraph. So I hope you've done that. Get a buddy to check you. This week, continue to review the first step. So continue to review, okay, what you've memorized, and also start memorizing this week's second paragraph. So that's my sharing on some of the thoughts on the second paragraph. But I want to end with a general thought about how you approach the mountain that is your new skin business. Let me share with you something from the toolbox of a coach. I use this book by Timothy Galway, The Inner Game of Work. Okay, and in this book, Timothy Galway talks about the two selves that we have. Okay, self one is the conscious self. Self two is the subconscious. Self one is the logical mind. It's fully aware of your past and your present limitation. It's the logical mind. Okay. Self two is the supercomputer. All your power and potential that you cannot even begin to understand. For example, self two is what controls your heartbeat, your breathing. It's just automatic. So which thoughts from which self will you allow to dominate your mind? You've got self one thoughts, self two. Okay. The first inner skill to be developed in the inner game is that of non-judgmental awareness. What do I mean by that? Because self one can get in the way of self two. Okay. Self one is the one that says you can't do it. It's never been done before. You are this, you are that. And what the coach does is he gets you to quiet the self one and trust the self two. So self one is the brain, self two is the body. Self one instructs, self two acts. We get into trouble when self one tries to self two to do something which the latter already knows how to do. And that happens when we try too hard. Okay. So what I'm saying is, learn some skills, but enjoy the process. Okay, enjoy the process, the journey to success. Persistent, continuous action. Work hard, but don't get stressed about it. Don't try, in a sense, to accelerate a process that just takes time. And when you enjoy it and you relax, you'll find that you become more attractive. Okay. Important thing is, okay, what are your dominating thoughts? Okay, so that's my sharing for today. Let me just end with what Timothy Galway says. Okay, the players who are able to do that are less judgmental, have more fun, and aren't trying to control everything. Where else would that be helpful? Pretty much anywhere. Business deals happen faster when you don't obsess about every detail. You're more authentic on a date when you're not trying hard. Artists create their best work when they just let ideas flow, and so on. So before you set out your biggest goals, remember to stay cool, not give yourself a hard time, and always have fun along the way.